Hey everyone, I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys, trader and technical analyst for the last 14 and a half years. In the video talking about the quantum sector this past weekend, just 3 trading days ago, was talking about how things were overextended, weekly consolidation was inevitable, we were not looking for any longs until that weekly consolidation began, and how we would look for 40 to 50% pullbacks once we got going. I did not expect it to happen all in one day on a headline, but here we are. So now let's anticipate what is the most likely scenario from here. And if you didn't watch the video from last weekend, I would pause it, go watch that one because that's an important precursor into today's update. All right, so we started the week with a little bit more upside. We had a new all-time high in IONQ and RGTI, obviously without follow through at this point. But the big news last night, which was Tuesday night, was the CEO of NVDA saying that he felt that quantum computing is 15 to 30 years out. And obviously that is having a significant reaction in the sector. But in my opinion, all it's doing is just speeding up what was inevitable. You know, a lot of people who don't do technical analysis or have, a lot of experience would say, oh, you're just lucky, you got a headline, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, again, this is, I'm not here saying, look at this insane trade. This is just another day at the office in terms of being a professional trader. And when you've seen this thing happen a dozen plus times, it's not unusual. So what are we going to expect now? Now we're going to expect volatility to drop off, volume to drop off, and ranges to tighten for weeks, if not months. Now, I'm not talking about, volatility is going to stay high the next few days, but I'm talking about the next few weeks, unless the broader market sees massive volatility that then is going to influence these things, obviously, anticipating that that's the most likely scenario from here. And so what we're looking at in the short term is we have IONQ losing the last weekly high or low. Again, we've got from the all-time high to the low, 52% drop. And when you drop that much, you have a huge range to trade within. We were used to 10% moves in both directions in some of these names, and it was beautiful for day trading. Today was 35% plus in both directions. Everybody eats. Bulls eat, bears eat, and that's why I just love trading both directions, which I did a good bit today, and we'll look at those trades in just a moment. But IONQ, so again, within this range, from where we came from, we have retraced over 50%. Anytime you retrace over 50%, if you look up Chart Guys Fibonacci's, there's an in-depth video about this. You trade within that range for a long time. In the short term, what are we looking for? Hourly bounce just took place. We topped out on IONQ. 3148 is now the most important short-term resistance. Of course, the low is the most important short-term support. And we're now going to be looking at, can the bulls confirm an hourly uptrend? We have to wait for Friday to get that information because tomorrow is closed and the market is closing. I'm doing this video now with 7 minutes left in the day. If we confirm the hourly uptrend, we will zoom out and we'll look for a 4-hour lower high to be the most likely result of that bounce. Bulls on Friday are just hoping for daily inside bars, which means don't break the low. And obviously the high is so far away that that's likely not going to be in play. So we're going to look for a daily inside bar on Friday, showing us the range is tightening up a bit. When we eventually get a daily bounce going, bears will be waiting to short a daily lower high. Why? Because it's the most likely scenario. And I know there's a conference going on, what is it, CES, where the quantum day is coming up. But again, the damage is done in the sense that we now have an extremely wide range to trade within for a prolonged period of time. So let's now talk about my trading for a bit, and then we'll go into the further technical analysis. So I did end up short. It was very frustrating to be a bear to start this week. For example, on Monday, I nailed the QBST top. I shorted this bull break with no follow through. The high of the day was 1045. My short filled at 1042. And I thought, oh man, I nailed it. The daily lower high. We got down to $9. We held it. And next thing you know, we see a huge bounce back up to where I shorted. It's, oh man, give back a bunch of the gains, trying to let it play out for a longer term pullback. There was even an automated bot that showed up, a bull bot. If you're watching the bid and the ask, how I know it's a bot is because you see the bid get sold into, and let's just use round numbers, we're at 950 and you sell into the bid down to 945 and instantly the bid is back at 949. That's designed to drive the price up. If you're trying to get the best fills and the bid is 945, you're placing your bid at 946 to just cut in line, and now you're the top bid. This bot would go all the way up to the ask and would sit there anytime it got knocked down, and saw that a number of times. And again, just, I think I nailed it. Nope, too big a bounce, not confident. And then did end up with some RGTI short from yesterday. And the beauty about having moves this big is I covered my short way too early, in pre-market, a little after 7 o'clock. And I bought the dip too early. But when you have 35%, 40, 50% moves, it's just the meat in the middle that we're looking for. I'm not expecting to nail tops and bottoms. So I exited my short way too early. Still big win. I mean, I figured I've made 35% short in less than 24 hours. I'm locking this in. Meanwhile, didn't expect to drop down to 50% plus on some of these names at the extremes. From there, this is my trading day. It was a lot of activity. So I started buying too soon. Low 6, upper 5s, but I was using smaller position sizes. And I got real aggressive. These are all my QBST trades today. But I got real aggressive when we got to $5. And that's when I upped my position size significantly. And, originally I'm playing with 2,000 share positions, just scaling in and out. And then once we got down to $5, 10,000 share positions, $4.99. And then I sell some, right? So I'm in some and I'm like, okay, I've got a big position now. I scale out a good bit into a short-term bounce. We drop to lower lows. I reload, 489, 473, 470. We start a little bounce. I scale out. So again, that's just my style. I ended up with, 65 trades of QBTS today, but that's just because of all of that, scale in 3 big positions and then scale out 25% at a time for 12 positions. So in the end, it ended up a really good day in both directions, even though I was too early. And that's the beauty of significant volatility. And obviously utilizing my experience, if you're in your first year or two of trading, I would not suggest to do what I'm doing, because I only got good at this style of trading year 8 of my trading career. So QBTS, again, from the video last week, the reason I shorted QBTS was because this was a daily head and shoulders. A daily lower high was the most likely scenario, and it played out way better than expected. And again, from that high, let's go to the weekly chart. From that high, we ended up pulling back at the low of today, 59%. That means we can bounce 50% from where we stand, considering we've already bounced 30%, and that would just put us at $9 for a lower high. So again, that's why we trade within these tightening ranges now for a very prolonged period of time, in my opinion. Weekly EMA 12 support, a weekly higher low is most likely, and the QBTS bounce was better than peers, in part, in my opinion, because the CEO went on CNBC and refuted a bit of the headline that caused the dump. But monster bounce. I sold too early. I was all out of my bounce by just under $6. But I'm not trying to nail tops and bottoms. I'm just scaling in and scaling out, getting the meat in the middle, and very happy with it. So now again, same deal. Can the bulls confirm the hourly uptrend on Friday? If they do, daily inside bar won't be most likely because of the size of this bounce. Bulls can possibly get this daily bounce going if we confirm that hourly uptrend. From there, again, I'd go to the daily from there. And again, I would scout a daily lower high. Bears will be looking short on the daily lower highs. But the next big piece of information is, what is the bounce retracement size on the daily? Bulls would love to see 50% plus. Why? Because if we get that, we then have space for a daily higher low next consolidation. If we don't have that significant of a bounce, then it's possible we roll over to lower lows. In my opinion, a name like QBTS, because we bounce so much, the only way we're going to drop to lower lows would be broader market weakness. We have a very clear NASDAQ and S&P 500 tightening range since the FOMC, weeks in the making. If that were to break bear, then we could potentially test recent lows. But again, the fact that we just bounced 35, 45% off those lows, good sign. But again, What am I expecting? Volume to drop off, volatility to drop off. And I'm talking over the next 3, 4, 5 weeks for that to be the most likely scenario. RGTI coming straight off the all-time highs. We didn't even confirm a daily downtrend. It was just a rising wedge. Jungle Funk Joey on Twitter was posting this rising wedge. Rising wedge just broke bear in a big way. Again, move from the top. I was looking for 40 to 50%. I would have looked for 40 to 50% drop over the span of 2 to 3 weeks. And again, 2 days. 58% drop. Hourly bounce, you can see it's weaker than QBTS. There's less space for the hourly trend change attempt. That said, it's still trying to shape up. Bulls must break the bounce high on Friday. If they do, we look for a daily inside bar because of how much space there is. QUBT, I talked about this being the weakest of the charts and being, if you put a gun to my head, I would choose this name to short based on fundamentals, and pullback at this point is to the tune of 69%. Again, are we going back to $27? Not anytime soon. That's 200% from the low of today. It's not happening anytime soon. This is the fastest. Again, I've played so many euphoria markets in my day. Cannabis in the penny stock market multiple times. Cannabis 2017, 2018. 3D printing. FNMA back in 2014. E-cigarettes, penny stocks back in 2014. Crypto, 2017. Crypto 2021. Growth stocks 2021. I lost my point. All that said is when you top out to this degree, that's it. This is the fastest euphoria bubble popping that I've ever seen. I've seen drops this big. Bitcoin will pull back 80% when its bubble pops, but that's over weeks and months. To drop 50% plus in a couple of days on some of these names, QUBT, its top was a while ago, but RGTI, to drop 50% plus in 2 days is the fastest euphoria bubble pop I've ever seen. Now, am I calling the sector a bubble? Yeah, just because you don't pull back 50% plus in 2 days if it's not a bubble. Can we go higher 3 years in the future? Sure. But I care, again, I'm a trader, mostly a day trader, and I care about the short term here. 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time. So again, we're not going to this high anytime soon. And as I said in the video last week, some of the names will never see the prices again that we top out at in this euphoria cycle. Could QUBT be one of them? It could. Absolutely. I can't make that prediction with any kind of confidence, but some of the names won't ever get back to their highs. And if, again, out of these 5 names that we're looking at, if I had to pick which names won't get back to their highs, it would either be QUBT or QMCO, obviously because of how much we pulled back at this point. QMCO, 67% pullback. And again, 200% move needed to get back to those highs. It's not happening anytime soon. The most likely scenario when you get a chart like this is you eventually find support, you bounce and you set a lower high for a few weeks, you pull back for a higher low, and you tighten up and form an equilibrium. This isn't the first time I've nailed a 50% move in a couple of days. Tilray, if you go back and look up the chart guys Tilray video that I did from back here, which one was it? Probably 2018. I forget which one it was. There's been multiple, but it might have been this one right here. And we pulled back 50% the next day after the video. Again, the same video. Caution, this is overdone. We're going to pull back. When we top out, we're going to pull back 50%. Didn't expect it in 1 day. But again, when you see these things happen time and time and time again, it's human emotion that leads to these scenarios. And, there were some people arguing with me after the last video saying, but fundamentals, blah, blah, blah. And my response was, it is human emotions that is the same. They were saying, you can't compare this to cannabis. It's completely different, blah, blah, blah. And no, it's human emotions. It's the same. It repeats the same time and time again. So I look forward to continued volatility in both directions. Again, I don't care if I'm long or short. I don't care how this sector turns up. I guess if I had to choose, I hope it runs to 1 million because I know that retail traders will benefit, and that's great. But I'm going to be longing and shorting, knowing that volatility is going to drop off and knowing that my time of being in love with this volatility will be gone perhaps around February or so. There's still more to be had in the near term while we digest this move. But again, by the time we roll around to early February, I expect the average daily range that you see on all these names, early February will be half of what we've seen up to this point. So hopefully protected, locked in some profit into euphoria, had cash to rebuy extreme fear. I mean, that's the way to trade. Sell into euphoria to have cash to buy back into fear. And let's see how it shakes out from here. Appreciate you all watching. Thanks for the likes and the shares. Again, let's just try and help as many people as we can, because these moves are, again, I wouldn't say predictable in the sense that I can't say when it's going to happen, but predictable from a zoomed out perspective. As always, do good things.